so welcome to Markers and Milestones. It's March 27th, 2023. This is where we explore educational opportunities for young men and women beyond traditional college, all from a Christ-centered perspective. I'm Lee Bortons, and this is Amanda Kleiss, my host, and we're joined tonight by Jamie Harmon from Classical Conversations Odyssey program. Thanks for being here, Jamie.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be with you guys tonight.
So introduce yourself to our audience, just the basics about who you are and your family, and then we'll get to more exact questions.
Okay, great. So I'm Jamie Harmon, and I am married to my husband, Tom, for 25 years this June. We have two really wonderful sons. Our oldest is TJ, and he graduated from Challenge 4 in 2020, and he was actually a first-year Odyssey student. And our younger son is Tyler, and he is graduating from Challenge 4 this year.
That's great. So can you tell us your educational background? And you mentioned Classical Conversations. That must mean you homeschooled. Can you tell the audience more about how you grew up learning, and then how your family?
Yes, sure. So I grew up in the public school system, like most parents I know of my age, and went through high school actually at a school that was a little more focused on activities that were critical thinking exercises and having some more hands-on experiences. So that was good for me. And once I got to college level, college age, if there was a state college in North Florida, I went to it. There were three different in our area, and I enjoyed classes at all three of them. And I did eventually end up with a degree in early childhood development. And really, that just prepared me to be a homeschool mom. I was able to really focus on what I wanted for my children. And even before I had any children, my husband and I were committed to homeschool even back then. So we have been of that mindset since the very beginning, and really have just enjoyed an entire really career of, for the most part, classical homeschooling with both boys.
That's great. Well, thank you for doing that. So you're here to tell us about the Odyssey program. That's why we've invited you here. So can you first tell us about the Odyssey program? Tell us the logistics of it, and then we'll get into more of the motivation and philosophy of the program.
Sure. Okay. So the Odyssey program really works like the next level of challenge plus some adventure. So how we really work is we are bridging the challenge program to that first year college experience. So our students from Challenge 4 come into Odyssey. They get enrolled as a first year student with Southeastern University. And then on the Odyssey side, we do focus on biblical leadership, spiritual growth. We do some practical skills learning and practice. We introduce the students to things that really, as parents, we don't introduce them to very often. We don't, maybe some people do, but I've never asked my young people to plan a family vacation or to choose our activities or to make reservations. So we really incorporate just those practical life skills, the things that they need to learn to do as young adults, taking those first steps towards. And we combine that with the classical Christian community of CC carried on. And really, it's sort of an amazing thing because that has been what the majority of students and parents have said that they're really wanting in their post-challenge years, is to continue that community with other individuals that understand where they've been and understand where they want to go. And they just want a group of young people to do it with.
So you were talking about your older son was one of the first students. So that was in 2020. Is that what you just said?
That's right.
Yeah. So what was your motivation for both having him be in the program, as well as you've been helping us since the beginning too? So tell us about your role in Odyssey and why you do what you do, as well as why your son went.
Yeah, so it's actually a really beautiful testimony, right? And it is the absolute expression of God's work in our life during that year. So, for anybody that doesn't remember or hasn't connected, 2020 was the year of COVID. So, in March of that year, everything shut down for us in Florida as well. And we happen to have had a really wonderful director that decided to continue on over Zoom as frequently as we could. She was fully committed to the students having their graduation, going through senior thesis together. So we did all of those virtual things. And it was during the about the last 6 months of challenge that my older son had somewhat of an epiphany. So all along he had thought he didn't enjoy academics very much as a student, a younger student. He did start to really find his groove. Challenge 2, really loved challenge 4, but we had always been focused on something other than college for him. And then he changed his mind right about 6 months before graduation. And so my husband and I were thinking, well, what do we do? How do we handle this? We hadn't even begun the search or to understand those next steps for college. So it was probably about maybe mid June, and I just got a random email from CC that said, "Hey, there's this great new program. It's the Odyssey program," and a brief explanation of what it was, very, very brief. And I took it to him. I said, "What do you think about this?" And so we got in contact with Will McCreary at the time and Carrie Eben, who was running it that first year. And we had a very brief conversation and we said, let's go for it. And he dove right in for the first time in his life. And it was an amazing thing to watch. His confidence grew, his independence in a really responsible way grew, and we could see in him the desire to pursue something other that was higher education. And we were thrilled with it. And then just as the year went on, it was a few months in, and I said, this kid is brand new. He had a whole new outlook, a whole new perspective, and we love watching him grow in the program. And I said, you know what? Whatever this is, I want to be a part of it too. And so I just reached out from the beginning and I said, hey, if you guys ever need any help, I am right here. I'm willing and I'm able. And one of the really cool things about it was when TJ was younger, he was diagnosed with all of the letters, right? The audio problems, we were unsure of what that would all look like for him. And we saw him thrive and grow. And I said, you know what? Just like challenge, we made challenge doable for him. And he was able to do things that he didn't even believe he could do. And that just expanded more and more. And I said, this is for every kid, this is for every student. They can make it work. And I knew that that was something that I wanted to help bring to every other Challenge 4 graduate, to help bring that option to the table. And now, obviously, with the relationship between CC and SEU, that is just becoming more of a reality for more and more and more students. And with the combination, how the Odyssey program has developed and the things that we're doing, it really is a fit for everyone that would want it. So that was my why. How am I going to do? I'm anything. I said, Will, anything you need, you let me know, and I'm there for it. And then TJ was invited to come back for a second year as a student leader because he just was thriving in the program. And that was when I was able to grow a little bit closer with the mentors, share a little bit more of the experience. And it was just a fast, perfect fit. from the beginning. So really it's become my new passion, just to share what this program has to offer with all of our CC students, but really especially those that just aren't sure what they want to do or where they want to go or how they want it to look, because we live that, we understand that. So
Great. Amanda, what questions do you have? I have a whole list, but we'll give you a turn.
Well, yeah. Well, thanks for the turn. And wow, Jamie, you make it sound like so much fun to do it. One of the things I wanted to pull out from what you said is that our kids change their minds. That happens. And boy, that often happens a lot in this post high school or just about out of high school. They change their minds. They learn more about themselves. They start becoming more who they're going to be in their mid and late 20s. So I'm so glad that you as parents didn't feel locked in, even though you didn't know what to do. I'm really appreciative that you took that step forward and that Odyssey met you there. So one of my questions about the Odyssey program, you keep saying Challenge 4. Is it for CC kids, Classical Conversations kids, and others, or just Classical Conversations kids?
Right. So the Odyssey program is designed very specifically for a challenge student. It is the next step beyond Challenge 4. So really what we look at is we have these students that are very well versed in how to work within a classical classroom. Right. So this experience of Odyssey, our regular Odyssey week includes a community day, although it's virtual. We're doing it just like, we would have done during that summer. So it was very natural for us to get onto that platform. We have all of the same types of conversations. That is what these students are really, really wanting. They're looking at each other. They understand the fabric that they come from. They understand the sensibilities of each other. And so really it is for that classical Christian student that has come through challenge, because we are operating at, like I said, it's that same classroom plus a little bit more. We're diving deeper into some things. We're taking on some harder topics. And then we're including that option that they have, like, let's go see a little bit of the world together.
So tell me about what you're adding to their scene of the world. What are some of those adventures you're hoping they have?
Yeah, so we really love the excursion part of Odyssey, right? So every year we take 4 in-person trips together. So that's mentors and students. We choose some areas, the mentors will get together and plan that first trip, because we want to welcome the students in. We want them to be guests on their first trip so they can focus on building fellowship and relationships together. These are how many of our students are in the class. This incoming class, we have 18 students. So that's going to be 9 students in a cohort. We have 2. And we want them to be able just to focus on getting to know each other, really just start that team building and relationship building. And then very, very quickly after that first excursion, we switch gears and they get to be in the driver's seat and they start learning all of the ins and outs and how do we plan a trip together? Where do we want to go? It's completely amazing because this incoming class of students, they're already talking about where they want to go and what they want to do and what they want to see. So some of the past experiences that we've had, we've gone to Nashville, we've gone to the Rocky Mountains and ridden trains and climbed not mountains but hills and mountains. We had it's big out there, especially coming from Florida. We've been to Williamsburg. They went there, I believe that was the first year. They've been to Southern Pines and stayed at the ranch. There's just really, it only is limited to where they want to go. We decide that collaboratively, and then they plan the trips. And so wherever it is they want to go and whatever it is they want to do, we give them parameters. Does it fit? Can we pay for it? Right? You have to learn to and money. right? And if it works, if they can pull it all off as a team, then we commit to trying to make the trip work.
So where are these students from? They're from all over, not just Florida, right?
All over the country, right? So this particular incoming year, we have students from Florida and Washington State and New Hampshire. And I think our furthest West Coast, uh, Washington. I don't think we have any Southwest students this year. But yes, all from coast to coast, we have students. So they're coming in, bringing some really different sensibilities, some really different experiences. Their communities look different, right? So a Florida community functions differently than a Washington community does sometimes. And the topics that they take on can be very, very different depending on the political climate and the social culture of where they live. So really, the more diverse the class is, the richer the experience has been for them.
So let me ask you a couple more logistical questions. One is, I want to recap. So it sounds like they meet one day a week over Zoom in order to have the cohort discussions. And then they have this opportunity to take excursions together. What are they doing for coursework? And is there any accreditation?
So during this entire experience of Odyssey, you can think about it in that Odyssey is really a two-part program. So they have their Odyssey work that we do together. And so that is the reading of books and essays and the weekly cohort conversations that we have and the projects that we do. They also are enrolled as first year undergrad students at Southeastern. So during this time, throughout the entire year, they're engaged with college coursework through SEU in their online program. So the whole time they're learning how to balance their lives as college students and as Odyssey students and as employees of companies and student ministers wherever they are attending church and leaders and other organizations that they're involved with, and still figuring out how do I carry on my social life and be responsible to my family. So we do strike a balance between that college work and the Odyssey work. Part of what we do when we travel is make sure that there are study hours carved out into every day so that they can keep up with their SEU coursework, so that they can be responsible to their deadlines and their due dates. And yeah, so of course the SEU classes are regionally accredited. And so whether or not they decide they want to transfer out of SEU after their Odyssey year or stay at SEU, those courses will follow them wherever they go.
And you mentioned mentors. Tell us about them.
Right. So the mentors for the Odyssey program are coming from the CC fabric, right? So far, the mentors have been connected to classical education. I am a Challenge 4 director and have been a Challenge director. This is my 6th year. Our incoming mentor is an AR in South Florida. She is also a Challenge director and has done all of the CC things. So the mentors coming in really are directors and other CC leaders that are really just interested in helping to provide and continue this culture of classical conversations, that classical Christian community. I can't tell you enough how many parents and how many students have expressed that is one of their top goals as they're evaluating what's next. That is one of the most attractive things about the Odyssey program. And I can tell you just from the experience of my older son, he has stayed in very close contact with quite a number of students that he went through the program with from year 1 and year 2. It's just like those years when we have our first college experiences and we graduated from high school and we share all of these wonderful new things. The great thing about Odyssey is these students are like-minded. They're having the same experience and they're growing in spiritual sensibilities. They're growing their understanding of biblical knowledge, what it means to be a biblical leader, and having these fantastic experiences traveling, often alone for the first time, away from their families, and figuring out, how do I get to be me in this new way with new people that I don't know? And all the while, the mentors are there helping to make sure that this experience is safe and fulfilling, and understanding what parents expect and where they want their students to go.
Amanda?
So as we were talking and you were mentioning the mentors, these mentors are the ones that are online with them, correct?
Correct. Yep.
All
So
right. So good online presence is good for our mentors, and the SEU stuff is online.
it is. The
Mhm.
SEU are all online courses. We as mentors don't have very much to do with their SEU coursework. One of the things that we do provide is during our Odyssey community days, we have carved out a time of our regular chunk of time together where we allow the students to bring forward anything that they're concerned about. What's happening in your college courses? What are some of the students talking about? How can other students support you in your understanding and how you respond to other students? How are you dealing with some of the coursework and the ideas? They really are making these connections together. And so often students will be enrolled in the same courses, and they're able to talk about, yeah, this assignment or that assignment, or how did you respond to that discussion post? And you're never going to believe what this person said. What would you say to that? So to the extent that they are students at a university where they're hearing new ideas and having new experiences, they can bring that together, or bring that to the other students so they can share that together. But really, it's the two parts of the program. They exist somewhat separately. We just try to help them navigate as the mentors and students navigate through the new ideas really that they're just experiencing.
So before we ask you some more questions, let's tell the audience how they can find out more about the Odyssey program.
Yes.
Good. Yeah. So thank you for that question. We are working hard to make sure that Challenge 4 directors and Challenge 4 parents are able to find us, to get in touch, to learn more about the program. So as of right now, we've been able to share an online webpage through SMORE that has all of the information about the Odyssey program. And so we've been able to share that somewhat through socials, through SRs and ARs, and with direct communication to Challenge 4 directors. But really, the best thing to do is for anybody that has questions about the program is just to email me directly. And you can get to me through jamie.harmon@classicalconversations.com. And so anything that comes through there, myself and the new mentor will work to get the information into the hands of parents and directors and students. That's one of the really beautiful things. I have students reaching out individually to me all the time and just asking, can you tell me more about the program? When can I come to an information meeting? Can you send me the link to SEU? So it really is through conversation that they're able to learn more about Odyssey as of right now.
So it's JAMIE, Jamie.Harmon at Classical Conversations, which is plural.com. So JAMIE.Harmon@classicalconversations.com. Okay, some closing thoughts, Amanda. Let's get some big philosophy questions out of the way.
Well, so it's a bridge program. A bridge to what?
A bridge to their exciting new journey of independence, of deepened relationships, of answering the question, what do I want to do next? So it really is an opportunity. The beautiful thing about how SEU is working hand in hand with Classical Conversations, they have come up with a curated list of general education courses that Odyssey students are provided so that they understand when I come in, I have the opportunity to take these courses. I can choose from these, but we've gone a step further and we have been able to say, if you want to be delight directed this year and you're not sure what it is you want to do, as long as there aren't any prerequisites, students can look at all of those online courses and choose what they want to explore. It really is that first year look at what am I interested in? What do I want to do? So if you have a student that is really bent towards graphic design, guess what? They can take a graphic design course in addition to their Comp 1 course. And because of the nature of the program and because of the amazing discount that we get by being classical conversation students enrolling at SCU, they have the luxury of time and the ability to take whatever courses they might be interested in. Psychology, psychology is your gig. Great. You can take intro to psychology. You really love philosophy. That's on the table too. So
much choice.
So much choice. Yeah. Really fabulous for that student that is just eager to explore.
So one of the questions that we're exploring in every podcast is, how does this help them be better participants in the church? So how does Odyssey help them be more who they're going to be in the church, their local body of believers? How do you encourage that? I heard a lot about biblical leadership, but how do you encourage this in your in the Odyssey program participants?
So really, what we spend a lot of time on are really talking about the core values, the guide, right? The core values of biblical leadership. And what does that look like for you as an individual? And so we take time really digging into, what does it mean to have humility of mind? Once you understand all of the different ways that humility impacts our lives, we can start looking for, how do I exhibit grace in speech? How do I show integrity in my actions? What does it mean when I'm diligent? And really, what we believe is that once a student becomes aware of how to apply that scripture in their lives, and part of what we do when we dig into those core values, we look for other scripture that supports those same ideas. So we're doing deep dives into the word and into scripture, and they're walking through this together. They're learning accountability together. And really, what I think that equals is just a young person who is able to understand who God created them to be, who he wants them to be, where they can pursue their passion. Is that passion something that the Lord has planted in them? If not, do I need to reevaluate? What are the strengths in my life? What are my weaknesses? And once they start really pursuing who they are, they begin to recognize, you know what? God made me the way I am, and that means he made you the way you are. And while we're pursuing righteousness instead of being right, we are going to be better members of our communities, whether it's a faith-based community, whether it is where we are at work. We want to be disciples making disciples, and they can take that into every part of their lives and into their worlds, into their families. And really, it is just about them coming together, learning how to be who God made them to be, and then locking arms and chasing Jesus together. And really, that's what we're seeing happen with these young students.
That's great. Okay, well, we're almost out of time, Jamie. It's been great to have you on. We'd like to also end with a question. Any advice for your 18-year-old self?
Yeah, so my 18 self, that is really a good question. I think that seeing the character of the students coming out of this program that we love, I can look at them and I can say, I really wish that I had had a group of people that I could be myself with.
Mm.
I felt comfortable with all of my strengths and all of my failures. So I think I would say, you know what, just find those people that can love you for who you are, that you can make mistakes in front of, that can provide you with accountability and you can do the same. And then go do the world together. I wish that I had had Odyssey. I can't even imagine uh, what that would have been like. But so, and that's one reason I'm so passionate and hopeful to be able to provide that for every Challenge 4 student across the country that might want or need this experience.
Great. Yeah, so I know that, it's a constant refrain from parents. It seems like a lot of folks are on either end. Like there's high school students who just know what they want to do and they're all ready for whatever it is, whether it's a trade or a college. And then there's other ones who do what you just referred to at the beginning, is that all of a sudden it's like adulthood clicks in and the maturity happens. But sometimes they're like, oh no, I haven't been doing either enough work or enough preparation, enough prayer. I don't know all my options. And so we really appreciate these bridge programs, whether it's a travel program or academic and spiritual like yours is, to give our young folks that extra year they sometimes need before they make a lot bigger and sometimes maybe a really expensive decision. Right.
That's
so thanks for all that you do, Jamie.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Right. I couldn't love it more. And I'm just so pleased to be right where the Lord has placed me. And I really believe that that's what's happening. And I'm just so hopeful and so excited about what Odyssey is going to be even next year and the year after. So.
Well, thank you. All right. Well, see you later, Amanda. Next week, who's our guest?
Next week, we have Philip Johnson. Engineering is going to be the subject, but not just engineering. Come for a fascinating discussion about lots of things yet that are miles and markers and milestones. Boy, I reverse those words. Occasionally we even do that. Yes. And mistakes are okay to make. And we are so glad that we're doing this together. And Jamie, thank you for coming on. And we look forward to seeing the rest of you next week.
Yep. Yes. Bye, Jamie. Bye, Amanda.
Bye. Thank you.